Hey, this is Alex from Four Course Films. Today I want to talk to you about shoot scheduling. So scheduling is one of the biggest components of your production, making sure that everything's running properly. So in other words, when you're moving from this setup to another, everything that is done on this setup is done as much as possible while you move the whole gang over, making sure that lunch is happening at the right time, making sure that people are landing at the right time, making sure that you have your makeup people when you need them, you have your wardrobe people when you need them, you have your art department when you need them. You cannot value this enough. It changes the whole morale of the project, and it definitely 100% will dictate your success in production. Now, when evaluating your schedule, of course, there's the big overarching concerns of how many locations we have, if we have hard-ins or hard-outs at that location. Any information that you have about the locations themselves is going to be extremely important when you're building a shooting schedule, when you're figuring out when you need people on set and when you can have people on set. So that's the first thing that you want to evaluate. The next thing you'll want to evaluate once you understand when you can get in and out of a location is when and where you need daylight or nightlight. So if there's a specific need for a dawn shot or a dusk shot or using magic hour as we call it, you'll want to make sure that you kind of block that out and bold it so that as you move around the schedule, as you're going through the schedule and evaluating it, that doesn't move, and you make sure that things that are specific to time of day stay in that area regardless of what may move around it based on what you need schedule-wise. So the next thing you'll want to evaluate is meals. It seems like a silly thing, but you need to have meals in your schedule. You can either have half-hour meals or hour meals. The reality is with half-hour meals, you need to consider them as 45 minutes because people just break at different times. Not everyone's going to be ready to break for lunch. They're going to need to coil up some cable or make some things safe for the break. So make sure that you account for at least 45 minutes for any meal. If you do have a lot of location moves in a day, you of course want to consider the setup and strike at the beginning and the end of the day, and then any other setup and strikes that you need to do throughout the day, and make sure that you provide ample time for those setups and those strikes. The next thing to consider is if there's any bonus scenes or if there's any kind of hope we could get kind of shots. Those are good to kind of understand what it's going to take to achieve them and then let them float around and communicate about them. So your first opportunity for them to happen, maybe you were behind in the morning and you're still a little bit behind. It's not really a good time to do some extra stuff. So you push that down to the next block. But you want to know where those blocks are, where the opportunities that you might have to efficiently fit this bonus stuff in, and then move it down to the next block and make sure you communicate that too. The worst thing in the world is to not do something extra that someone really wanted to do and then never talk about it until the end of the day and just say, I guess we just didn't have time. You really want to communicate that and talk about it throughout the day so that if you do get to do it, you get to do it. And then if you don't get to do it, there's a good understanding of why you didn't get to do it and why there just wasn't any bonus time in the day to be able to achieve that. The bonus stuff is always, fun. It's off script. A lot of times it makes the final cut. It's a special little thing that just kind of came up organically, and you want to preserve it if you possibly can and make time for it if you can. So you also want to have an understanding if you have an opportunity for OT if you need it, or if you have hard constraints on the budget. In other words, you have a 10-hour day and you cannot go past it. You want to know that. If you have a little bit of room for OT, or if OT is built into the budget, you want to know that as well, so that you can kind of pad your times accordingly, or know that you don't have any pad at all and you really need to make it happen in that amount of time. This is something that you need to go into scheduling with an understanding of. So this is how I'm going to close it out. This is not an end-all be-all. This is just a starting point. So these are some things you're going to want to look at, kind of put on your scheduling checklist. The bottom line is a good schedule will make a great production. Thanks a lot and happy shooting.